Why did all of the people, all of these different peoples from different countries, Cuba and Sicily, all these places, why did they come to Tampa? Was it strictly economic opportunity? Were those places oppressing the people through that religious persecution or hardship?
It was the new world. It was still a land of opportunity. And in Tampa, if you were Sicilian, you knew there was already a community there for you. If you were Cuban, you already knew there was a community there for you. That was the big struggle the cigar manufacturers had when they first settled in Tampa. Is the Cubans would come up from Havana, which is this fantastic metropolitan city, and they get to Tampa and the streets are dirt. There's alligators walking around, the mosquitoes there, and you got a bunch of rednecks in town who don't like you. You got back on the boat, you went home. And so the manufacturers had to come up with a system of housing. They had to come up with the social clubs like the Cuban Club, the Italian Club, Central Storiano, Central Espanol, because these people were afraid that, if they died, they'd be thrown into the street. They wanted to know they had a place to be buried. They needed to be able to have a social organization to help them out. And so these organizations formed to try and welcome this group in and to make them feel comfortable being here and to take care of things outside of work. Because in Florida, if you were Latin, it was still hostile areas outside of your Latin community.
So that's why there's so many clubs. I've always wondered that. So those people, they needed that sense of community. All
Sure.
those big, beautiful buildings are amazing too.
Sure.
Some of the craftsmanship is fascinating.
They provided you a outlet for acting. Those who wanted to be actors could they had community theater. We provided platforms for professionals to come down and entertain. The Cuban Club and some of those had gymnasiums in the bottom for working out. They also provided intramural leagues for baseball, basketball, and other things so that they could play sports with each other. They also performed a way of you had Sunday matinee dances at all these places. So a young Cuban boy could touch a young Cuban girl under the watchful eye of the Cuban grandparents and be able to dance during the day and not get in trouble. So this was also a way of your group meeting people in the same group to get married and to fall in love. And so, yes, the social organizations provided. Often the other big one they provided was healthcare.
Oh,
Because all of these places either had a hospital or had an agreement with the hospital. So the first HMO in America was the Cuban Club,
wow.
because you could pay this amount of money and you were provided with free health care.
Wow. I had no idea.
Some of them provided you with burial benefits. And so it was kind of a combination of insurance policy, social club, entertainment venue, sports venue, all in one package and all under one price.
The community taking care of each other long before larger federal and state government programs to keep up with a lot of that stuff.
Well, and yes, because at that point, government didn't do that. And this was before the Great Depression and before
Right.
Roosevelt's ABC agencies. But the other thing I have to tell you is that this wasn't necessarily unique to Tampa, but Tampa did it in a unique way. In other cities, you can go to St. Louis, you can go to San Francisco, Seattle, to New York, to Cleveland, Cincinnati, and you'll find a Polish American club, a Hungarian club. And these places were a spot over the butcher shop where Polish people would gather and they'd speak their language and they'd have a little events. You have Greek places and things like that. But only in Tampa did they build these cathedrals to do this in. And these other places, they were, like I said, an old warehouse, a vacant storefront, something above the butcher shop. Here, within a few years, Central Espanol built two grand buildings and a hospital within about 14, 15 years of being here of this organization.
Well attended, well funded.
It had 10,000 people who were members. And so this was this kind of organization on steroids here in Tampa. They were building to stay.
I wonder why there is that discrepancy with the way the immigrants played out in their communities in Tampa versus other cities. My understanding and my guess would be that in other cities, they were already filled with American people that had been here maybe 100 years before. So there was those previous generations. Where in Ybor City, it was almost like it was the immigrants in charge. All of the immigrants were the ones that were the real estate owners, the business owners, providing housing, different businesses. It was all the immigrants in one concentrated place versus maybe a Polish person immigrating to Chicago had to be in the upstairs, above a business. Whereas here they were able to have these grand buildings.
Well, part of it was location because of our closeness to Cuba and because we were the end of a transportation network that went from train here to then getting on a boat to finish the route to Havana and back and forth. So that was one of the main reasons why we have some of this uniqueness. The other thing is that this was the Deep South. And so it was very hostile territory outside of Ybor City. And therefore you kind of kept to yourself and you provided for your own needs. But the other thing is that Latins had the vote here too. And so unlike African Americans who were denied the vote for a long time or taken away Latins had a political clout in America, in the state of Florida, first with Key West, and then with Tampa, and then now with Miami.
Right.
And so they've always had a political clout here that some other states didn't have. And then the other issue is that we were Spanish territory before we were English.
Hey guys, if you want to watch the full episode of this clip, click right here. Make sure to subscribe by clicking right here. Thank you for watching.